This week, we're going to talk about how do you spend time with God. Let's send it!
Guys, thanks for joining us here at Full Send Living. I'm your host, Nate Thompson, with our other host,
Ethan Bricker here. Thanks for being the full senders and joining this community of people to take risks, trust God, send it every single day. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe, click that like button, hit that bell. Let's get into it today.
Let's get into it.
So I brought this topic up to Nate a while ago, just in passing,
literally in the hallway.
In the hallway at church.
Like if someone was asking, where's the bathroom at here?
Yeah,
you're like, right over there. It's super casual.
Yeah, I just started thinking, I want to ask my friends how they spend time with God, not in order.
What made you even wonder that? Do you remember what got you there?
Yeah, I try to spend time with God most mornings, and I was just thinking, this is my way of how I spend time with Jesus. I wonder how other people spend time with Jesus. Just because, not in order to replicate what somebody else does, but to be to just learn from somebody of how they talk to God, or how they, how much time do you spend praying, full on praying? How much time do you spend worshiping? How much time do you spend reading? What does it look like? And so today we're gonna get behind the scenes with each other, and talk about what that looks like. Because I think a lot of people, they just wonder, in the secret place, we call it the secret place, because it really is a secret space that you shouldn't be just broadcasting to the world.
Which is exactly why I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah, perfect. Then I'll do it. Yeah, so that's why I wanted to know. I wanted to see. So
let's talk about it then.
For you, what does it look like for you when you're I'm setting time aside right now to spend time with Jesus? Yeah, specifically time set aside, I guess, is I want to narrow it in on that. I don't want to talk about I turn worship music on in the car, or we designated set apart time.
Okay. Mine will go I think a lot of times one of the biggest thing people instantly think is I need to sit down and journal and have set this hour up and do it. Which is what I would always try for years, and I never succeeded well at it. I would get to a spot where I felt, I don't know, either I would miss it or mess it up, my brain wouldn't be into it, and I'd be so challenging to me to commit to it that it always came with a sense of shame or something of being able to not be good at it.
Yeah.
And then Kate, as our marriage has grown over the years, and we've been together now for, we've been married 17 years. She just is good at it, So then there was then I went through a long period of I talk to God on my way to work. I'll do that. I'll pray and I'll do all this stuff, and I'll talk during my day at work, or and then I'll play music, because I had all these things that I would do just on the fly. And then a few years ago is when I think where God really taught me personally something so it was it came down to just this concept of to study by design.
Yeah, I love this.
And that's where that changed the game for me, because I would see Kate able to sit and I joke about her being like a miner. She's just
look at all these gold nuggets. She's just panning.
Yeah, just prospector.
I found another one. And you're over here with this industrial machine just carving out a mountain, and
nothing.
You're nothing.
Yeah. And then they're it's because you're not even in the right spot. You drifted off into sleep. Yeah. So I would see that and I would compare us, and it would kill me, because I'd be dang it. Like, why are you so good at it? And I suck at it. Or I'd hear people at church talking about their like hours of whatever.
Yeah.
So then when I started kind of like digging in with God, and what it was I was going through something where I was setting up like talking points on like this little lecture series of things that I did. And then when I got to that spot about like quiet time, I was just like, I was dreading the thought of it. And I remember telling Kate, like, this is going to be the weakest. I'm ending, like, I had it in my mind already laid out. Like, I'm going to end on this one. I didn't even have it written out yet. I just had the title in my head. And I'm like, I'm going to end on like the weakest point. And then as I started getting into it, to me, it's like, it was the absolute crux of the other points. It was like the hub of it. And then what God showed me was the studying by design, because what I realized was when I'm building something with him, or for like towards something and have like objective, I do my best moments are with him, because it's like, it's like if I build something out in my garage, like if I've made a piece of furniture or something like an end table, before I'm even done, there's been times where I'll grab Kate and be like, hey, check this out. Look how this is coming along, you know? Mm-hmm. And like, so it was like the same thing happened with God, where I'd be like, I'm making this with you, for you. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning so much. Like I was like mining stuff, like so then that's what he really showed my heart, that like we need to, as a people, kind of like realize, how do you even build relationship in life? Like we're all different, you know, we all carry conversations differently. We all engage into it differently. So how have you maintained friendships? Like, what does that look like? And then, you know, almost like kind of taking my physical, I don't know, the way I learn, and then trying to apply that with God, because I'm a hands-on person. Yeah. I've always been hands-on. I've learned how to do jobs, how to do it before I knew why I was doing it, or like what the reason was even behind it. But that changed the game for me, to study by design. So then personally for me, over the years now, I've learned that if I have intention to do something that requires me to learn something with God, it comes like so easy to me, where it's not work and it's not like shame or anything, because I'm like, it's like me and him building something together. Yeah. And it totally, like if I think of like FBS, Friends Bible Study, we've been doing that for 1.5 years. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just like, it's on our, it's in my wheelhouse of like, yeah, I want to read about, I'm reading this because I have purpose, I have intention. Yeah. And it's not like, I don't know.
Yeah. So like for you, it's a lot more just like in your daily life, in the decisions you're making, in the things that you're doing, you're just inviting him into those things.
Yeah. And so like, intentionally doing them for the purpose of it. Mm-hmm. You know, because I think, because it can become, and that's another thing that can be dangerous for me, I think, is it can become like well, if I'm not doing anything, and I'm not doing anything. Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah. Which is dangerous.
Then it's like, well, then where's your time with the Lord?
Where's my time? Yeah. And there is the truth. Like, I'll argue this, I think, is that it's not by the seat of your pants. Like, it's not the 10-minute drive into work isn't enough, because you're driving. Yep. You're splitting your time no matter what. When I'm walking through a hallway at work and I'm thinking about God or something, that's not it.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's part
great.
Of it. Yeah, but
it's not where you find the gold. Yeah. You know, like, cause it's, and then I'll go this far, maybe. And I think too, I think we can get fruit from everybody. Like, I love catching like bits of your fruit. Like when you're like, I found this with God, let me share this with you. Mm-hmm. But there is something 100% different when you're in his word. Boom. And you find it. Yeah. And it's not Chris Valentin giving it to you. It's not Ethan Bricker giving it to you. It's not Michael Miller giving it to you. It's not those guys, because they were there. They were the ones digging.
It's not
and
the
they
same.
Found the vegetables that were in the dirt. Yeah. And they're bringing it to the table to share, but they leave with more than what we leave with. Yeah. You know, they leave with the dirt still under their fingernails. Mm-hmm. And it lasts. it's a fruit that lasts forever, because when you find something, when you are purposefully in his word for his voice for you, it's his revelation for you, not revelation of him from somebody.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
and it's just like that in itself is so important.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to make the time to be one-on-one with him in his word. And that's where I think the studying by design comes in, because if you're not, it's good for me to stretch me to sit down and write thoughts down and talk with them and listen, and like, because it's not as natural to me.
Yeah.
So it's good to try to develop that, because there are times I think you need that.
Mm-hmm. It's probably important to mention too, like for those of you that are just catching this, when Nate's saying like study by design, he's saying what he's meaning is study by your design.
Yeah.
Like God created you with a specific, with specific desires and abilities, and the way that you focus in on something is different than the way that somebody else focuses in on something. And so don't look at your design as a crutch. Your design is the gift that helps you encounter the Lord.
Yeah, because I think it just it's almost like, to me, it was my realization that I have a way that's easy for me to be in his word. I just need to develop it.
Yeah.
Because if I kept trying to where, like, I think that's Kate's natural is like to kind of to read and journal. Like that's her natural way.
Yeah.
So I think for her to sit down and create like I don't know, something she's going to share with people, that would stretch her, because then she'd, put her in a different playing field.
Yeah.
Where to me, that's more like, I feel like it's more in my wheelhouse. So then once I realized that, it was like easy, but then within it, to not wonder or challenge myself in a different way is, I think it can get you, I don't know what the right word is. I don't want to say it's like complacent or something. It's like, it can, I don't know, maybe it can just limit you from seeing other facets of God.
For sure. Yeah. Let me share kind of my
yeah, I want to hear
experience, because ultimately I think we need to get into the grittiness of like, how do we do this? Like, you know what I mean? Not just like
right,
legitimately, what does it look like? So like minute by minute, hour by hour, whatever it is, you know what I mean? So for me, I'm not bent towards like, I want to sit down and journal, or even, I don't even really like sitting down and reading, but I've found that by submitting myself to do those things, I'm not a big journaling person. Like that's one of those things where it's like, if I just journaled, sometimes I need to journal because it helps me. And then other times it's like, this is just journaling for journaling's sake. It's not,
right.
It's not actually helping anything. But like, so this is what I'll do. So I will wake up at 6 a.m., come up into this barn and sit down. I'll put worship music on, and depending on the day, it's like, just, okay, Jesus, what do we want to do this morning? Like it might be, okay, I'm going to worship for 20 minutes before I get into the word or whatever. And so I might stand up and just pace back and forth in this room for 20 minutes, just worshiping and singing really loud, and you know what I mean? And, or even letting the music play and me just worship without like needing to sing the words of me saying like, Jesus, you are the master, you're the teacher, and just declaring like who he is. Like this morning, the highlight that he gave me was like, you are the Ethan, you are the joy set before me. And so it was like, okay, now I'm going to speak that back to you, Jesus. Like, you're the joy set before me. So like, I want my life to be arrowed in on you. You are the joy. You're the desire of the nations. You know what I mean? So I'm just like telling Jesus, like, you are the desire of the nations. You satisfy like nobody satisfies. And just like complimenting and building up my friend Jesus. You know what I mean? So then I'll sit down, I'll just feel it out. You know what I mean? Cause it's like, if Jesus says worship for an hour, that's the best thing you can do. If you're like, well, I really wanted a journal or something like that, you'll get more doing what he asks you to do. So my day is always different because I try to be very yielded to like, okay, Holy Spirit, what do you want? So today it was like, I'm going to worship. Then I open my Bible right over here. I got props. I got props. So then I have my Bible here and I read through some in Psalms, but I'm in Exodus right now. So then I just read, you probably can't even see anything, but I read through like Exodus and I just read like chapter at a time. And then I write like little notes of like the note of today was comfort will cause you to want to serve the wrong master. And that was where the Israelites were leaving Egypt. And on their way out, they were like, why would you do this? You're going to kill us, Moses. We should have just been serving the Egyptians. And it's like they just got liberated from their captivity, and they're already wanting to serve their old master, within hours. So anyways, so I'll read the Bible and then I'll read through Exodus, and work my way through. And then I jumped to Psalms and read some Psalms and then I'm probably going to worship again. But there's moments in time where it's like, okay, now is the time to like be super quiet. And so like I've had other days where it's like no music, no reading, just sit. Wait?
Do you wonder how much more important that is than what we give it credit to? In the sense of like, I know like what we're saying with like reading and like the scripture and like and to pull from that, like you're like that from today is like, I mean, that's like a life moment of like where like it gives you just this reality of like, where am I too comfortable, God?
Yeah.
Like where am I putting, like what am I saying is more good than you that I'm putting my stock in, or whatever. But then like the times where it's like, do you wonder how often we as a church have kind of been like, you need to just read your Bible for, get that morning half hour in and go.
And then be done and tap out. Yeah.
Yeah. And not listen to anything that the Holy Spirit of God is like wanting to just speak to you.
Yeah.
To just, to be quiet.
Yeah.
And to just,
well, because it's not a time, you're not stamping in or whatever, stamping in like, okay, clock. I'm in. And then being like, okay, right at 7, I'm out. You know what I mean? That's not relationship, like Lydia doesn't, when I come in, she doesn't know if I'm going to be in here until 7 or maybe right up until work's about to start at 8. And I got to run inside, shower and get back out here to start work. Like she doesn't know because it depends on what Jesus is doing. And she knows that if I'm being yielded to what Jesus is doing out here with me, I'm going to be a much better dad and a much better husband than I could ever be without spending that time. Let me read something.
Read it.
So this book right here, highly recommend it. It's called Keep the Blood Warm by Peter Lewis. It's basically just about spending time with Jesus every day. He starts the book off. He says, we are in a battle every single day. The battle is for our attention because whatever we give our attention to is what we worship, and we will become what we worship, which to some, I've heard that said before in other ways, but whatever we're giving our attention to is what we're worshiping most. And to be able to just set aside time to Jesus and saying, I'm giving you 100% of my attention, even though for me, it's a big struggle to just sit and do nothing. Like that's not easy. It's not easy. Like I sit and my mind will start to trail off of like things I need to do and stuff, but training myself to redirect of like, if I'm going to start thinking of things I need to do, then Lord, start helping me dream about things I can do for you.
Dude, that I think people need to hear too, just that how it is just as real for somebody else to drift off into like, I had a long time ago, a memory of like, do you remember that? This is going to sound completely off topic, but Tree Man, do you remember when that was a thing like 100 years ago? Some dude who like had like tree.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I remember this moment, and I feel like God just keeps it in my mind to remind me of it. Is like, I remember
he needed like surgery, right?
Yeah. So I remember
like
praying.
Believe It or Not
I'm like praying and Tree Man shows up in my brain. Like, cause I'm talking to God about something and all of a sudden I'm like, why am I thinking about Tree Man right now? I'm like, literally my brain went from like honing in on God to like Tree Man. And I'm like, and then I'm just like, God, help me. Like, what, help me, God. Cause I feel like our brains naturally, they're just like a spinning, like whatever. It's like a fly trap. So it's like, you have to constantly be like redirecting your mind. And I think people need to hear that from like that. It's not just like somebody who's credentialed and being a pastor and like people who are on like, we're on a worship team for the church. So you guys have to be able to worship. You have to know how to, or whatever, you know, but it's like, the reality is our brains will always want to go somewhere. And you have to constantly be steering that ship towards God.
Brennan Manning, he writes this book called like The Furious Longing of God. And in the book, he says, to a point, I'm just paraphrasing, but he talks about how like we've turned God into this, like you have to be like fully focused, nonstop, like very militant, you know what I mean? And he says, he's like, God puts you on his lap, and whether you're playing with your little friends on his lap and enjoying things and looking at butterflies, he doesn't care as long as you're in his lap. And he just paints this beautiful picture about like us as children of God sitting on his lap, seated with him, and how like if I start like making jokes with you and I get distracted in a moment, even on church and worship, if we're worshiping, we just make a little funny and we start laughing, but then we get back to it. He's not disappointed by that. That's just kind of how we are wired. And it's in the same way like how my kids, if they're like, Daddy, I love you, and then they get back to playing and then they come back. Scarlett will do that. She'll like play and go play with her like brother, and then she'll come back. Daddy, you're the best daddy ever. And then she'll go away, and then she'll come back. And to me, I'm like, what would I ask more from her? You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's the same with God, where he's like, he's not expecting any more from us than just our yes, like just us being willing. And if we're willing to sit in a room in silence, just searching his heart, if you have a little bunny trail where you just get caught and you start thinking about something else, like he's not sitting there disappointed. Right. He's just waiting for you to come back. And by the time you come back, you'll just go right back where you started. Which that's liberating in and of itself, because now you can spend time with God without getting sidetracked of feeling condemned or full of shame because you didn't do it right, you know? I'll give a little bit more of, so for me, I'll read the word, you know, I'll ask God, like, where do you want me to read? Like he had me read in Hosea the other day, which was really kind of like random, but it was so what I needed for the moment. So I'll read and I'll highlight and I'll write little notes, and you might be watching this. You're like, I don't know how to do any of that. I don't either. You just, when there's a moment,
not like I mean, there's plenty of like starter packs, which are good. They're super helpful. Yeah. But they're really, I mean, it's not, you can't screw it up. Maybe you could. I don't know.
You could if you started adding to it. Yeah.
But if like in the sense of like, if you're just, I just want to pursue you, God. I just want to like, I want to hear you. I want to know your presence. Yeah. I want to be where you are. Yeah. You know, and just like hitting the brakes. Yeah. Of the, you know, hit the brakes, because you have to hit the brakes to do it. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll spend time on the word. I'll do a devotional like keep the blood worm, which talks about basically how like the priests back in the days of Israel would every single day sacrifice a lamb to God for the atonement of the sins of Israel, and how their hands would always be warm with blood. Jeez. And how like the reality of like Jesus's blood was shed for us, so every day our hands should feel warm with his blood. Like it's just a crazy, like not in the sense that we're like, but in the sense that it's so personal to us, and his blood is so the sacrifice that he paid is so real and so fresh still today, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just as if it just came pouring out of his body. That sacrifice is so, Just read the book, guys. It's
book.
very good. It literally just walks you through different verses, and you literally just read 2 verses about the gospel, and then you meditate about like what that means for you. And then this is a book.
Cheap.
We're giving lots of resources today. Not a sponsor, Chris Cruz. So Chris Cruz, his book, this is called The Practice of Being with Jesus. And this is a phenomenal just breakdown. If you're just super new to like, I don't even know how to talk to God, I don't know how to do any of that. This is like a step-by-step process where you read a prayer that says, Jesus, be with me. My life is nothing without you. I long to be in your presence where I find true rest. Wash over me with your love and cast out all my fears. You're my safety. You're my hiding place. So you'll read that. Then you'll sit in silence for 2 minutes with nothing. Just sit in silence and just listen. You know? And then you'll worship without music. Because you can worship without music, people. You like give God glory without music. And then he has like a little scripture about the one I'm looking at is about facing pain. And then at the end, it will like walk you through, like, is there anybody that you should forgive? Should you offer somebody forgiveness that never asked for it, but needs it? And then at the end you read a prayer and that's it. It's just such a great tool if you're just stuck and you just feel like, I don't know what to do. But I don't think it's ever been more important for us to know how to spend time with God than it is right now.
And I agree. Can we send it?
Yeah.
Can we send it?
Sorry,
in the
I'm
way?
like on a...
No, dude. When you said that, though, I think the importance too is like when you said like if you're feeling stuck, because I think some of us like within like our Christian walk, you can get stuck in like a repetitive like. This is just kind of what I've been up to. Yeah. I think the send it is ask a friend.
Yes.
Like, how do you worship God, man? Like, what are you up to? You know, like, because there's stuff we've learned. Like, I mean, something we're like instituting right now is Sabbath day. Mm-hmm. Like me and Kate as the family, and we're starting it on like, it's usually like I think like a 5 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. And then we go the evening and then kind of like the next day up until like 5 o'clock.
A full day of rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it's hard in the sense of like, I mean, because when you look at your calendar, you're like, I don't see a day of rest possible here, which is like also in itself bananas.
Yeah.
But when you start calendaring it, and like for us, like, so that was something we picked up. I mean, it wasn't like on our radar, but send it by talking to a friend about what are you doing? Yeah. You know, because it's the same. It's like the Father, man. He's like, I mean, why not be able to do it to come to the Father with a friend, or, you know what I mean? To be able to just to glean from each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's what we did.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like, what do you do? And I got so much as being somebody who's like a sit down, spend time for me to talk to Nate and hear his process of like everything in Nate's world is so spiritually connected. And I'm somebody who can like start to kind of like draw lines in boxes where it's like, oh, I spend time with God here. And then I walk out of there and I have to remind myself that like he's in everything. But Nate lives such a like he's in everything.
But then too,
you know,
it's just, dude, you guys, you're going to see the value, because when I hear Ethan's, there's like a different level of intimacy that I need to be reminded to have.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
and for you, there's a different level of like adventure that in hands on that I need. You know?
So that's, dude, send it, you guys. Find a buddy and ask them what they're up to.
Yes.
And share it. Don't be a weirdo.
Yeah. Share it. And if you're like, I don't know who to go to, go find a church. Find a church to go to, and there will be somebody there.
Mm-hmm. And if you and your buddy are both kind of like, dude, I don't know, I really haven't been doing anything, here's some resources.
Boom.
Start with these.
One of these.
Go check them out.
Just pick this one up.
There's this one, an older book called the Bible.
Yeah, just pick the Bible up. Yeah, Jesus said, go into a room, lock the door, spend time with me, and the Father who sees you in secret will reward you in secret. So it's like one of those things, you can't screw this up. If you go to him in secret, asking to know him, he will reward you.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, fired up, guys.
Nothing to it but to do it.
Pumped up. Hey, guys, if you liked this podcast, why don't you hit that like button? Why don't you subscribe to the Full Sun Living Show? And we're coming out with new episodes every first and third Friday of every
Always,
single
like
month.
clockwork.
We are almost to 2 years, to a 2-year anniversary coming up, guys.
Woo.
Like it's still going.
Still going.
Still going. Tell your
right.
friends.
Yeah.
Tell your friends about this. This is going to be helpful for some people, so share it with your friends too.
For sure. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
See you, man.
Bye.